I remember everything. The laughter, the pain, the dust-covered streets we raced through as children, our bare feet pounding against the red earth like drums in a forgotten melody. In those days, life was simple, and so was loyalty. There were 3 of us, me, Samuel, and Bobby. If you saw one, the others were never far behind. We were more than just boys from the same neighborhood in Suraleh. We were brothers, not by blood, but by choice. Our parents called us the Inseparables. We attended the same primary school, played street football, walked to school in the rain, and dreamed on the same rooftop, under the same Lagos moon. That kind of bond, I believed, would last a lifetime. But I was wrong. It all began to change after our university days. We had all graduated together, served our NYSC year, and looked forward to carving paths for ourselves. Bobby and Samuel were lucky. Just a few months after NYSC, they got jobs at a major financial institution in Victoria Island. Their salaries were good, their lifestyle even better. Me, I wasn't so lucky. Instead of job hunting like everyone else, I decided to start a business. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was desperation. Or maybe I just believed too strongly in the dream I had nurtured since I was 15, to build something that bore my name. I used the small savings I had to open a tech retail shop in Computer Village, Ikeja. At first, business was fair. But soon, things began to crumble. There were more losses than gains. Rent increased. The dollar rate kept fluctuating. My suppliers started calling me the man who's always promising tomorrow. I was sinking fast. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that things would get better. But they didn't. And when things got so bad I couldn't afford to pay my assistant's salary or stock new goods, I did the unthinkable. I swallowed my pride and reached out to Samuel and Bobby. I remember the day vividly. It was a rainy Thursday. I took a BRT to 6 just to see them at their office. My shirt clung to my skin from the rain, but I didn't care. I waited in the lobby for almost 2 hours. Finally, they came down. Bobby's cologne hit me before he even spoke. "Oh, Joseph." "Long time," he said, flashing the same crooked smile he always used when he was lying. Samuel nodded and slapped my back. "Guy, is this you?" I forced a smile. "I came to talk to you both. I need help." Their eyes changed. "I've been struggling with my business," I continued, my voice shaking. "I need a loan of 500,000 naira to stock up and recover. Please." They exchanged glances. Samuel chuckled. "Guy, are you still in that your shop at Ikeja? That your business is a waste of time." Bobby scoffed. "You should look for a small job. Even if it is logistics, at least you will be making enough to get by." I stood there, stunned. My throat tightened, but I refused to let them see me cry. "So you both can't help me?" Bobby shrugged. "It's not like we don't want to, Joseph. Things are tight. And besides, we can't just be throwing money around." I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind them that it was me, who paid Bobby's final year school fees when his father died suddenly. That it was my mother who fed Samuel every weekend for a whole semester after his father's burial. But I didn't say any of that. I simply nodded and said, "Thank you." Then I left. They say a man only knows the depth of his strength when the world turns its back on him. That day, when I walked away from Samuel and Bobby, drenched in both rain and humiliation, I felt something break in me. Not anger. Not even disappointment. Something deeper, like a funeral was happening inside me, burying all the years we called each other brothers. I didn't go straight home. I wandered through the streets of Victoria Island for hours. I watched people laugh through tinted car windows. I watched hawkers risk their lives in traffic for mere change. I watched the sky darken, and still I walked. My phone rang a few times, but I didn't answer. I had nothing more to say to anyone. By the time I returned to my one-room apartment, my body was weak, but my mind was strangely alive. I sat on the bed and stared at the envelope on my table, the documents to the only thing I had left of my late father, a plot of land in Ibejuleki. He had labored for years to buy it. It was meant to be our future. He used to say, "Joseph, when I'm gone, build something here. Let the land remember your name." But what does a man do when the future he was meant to build with it is already collapsing? I stayed up all night. I weighed everything, my pride, my pain, my father's memory. And by morning, I made the call. I sold the land. It felt like amputating a part of myself, like letting go of the last anchor tying me to hope. But I used every kobo wisely. I moved to a smaller space and reinvested everything into my business. I rebranded, updated my stock, partnered with a reliable distributor in Dubai, and started leveraging online ads. I cut off distractions, stopped explaining myself to friends, and worked like a man possessed. 1 month passed. Then 2. Nothing. My account was almost dry again. I fasted, I prayed, I cried, then, just when I was about to give up, it happened. An Instagram tech influencer made a review about one of my phones. Within 2 hours, my website crashed from traffic. Orders poured in. Customers from as far as Kano and Port Harcourt began calling. In 1 week, I made what I hadn't seen in 2 years. It felt like the heavens had opened. From there, things grew rapidly. I got a bigger office space in Ikeja GRA, hired 2 staff, and launched a gadget subscription plan that went viral within the tech community. One blog headline called me the comeback kid of Computer Village. Another said, "Meet the boy who refused to quit." But in all the praise and progress, I never forgot. I never forgot those 2 faces, Samuel's smirk and Bobby's scoff. The way they dismissed me like I was a nuisance. Their words echoed in my ears during every late-night delivery, every failed importation, every time I was tempted to give up. I told myself, one day, the sun will burn bright on me, and they will come crawling in the shadows. And that day came. It was a Tuesday morning, 3 years later. I was in my office, now expanded and beautifully furnished, when my receptionist buzzed me. "Sir, 2 men are here to see you. They said it's urgent." I frowned. "Did they say their names?" A pause. "Yes. Samuel and Bobby." Time stopped. For a second, I thought my ears deceived me. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly aware of the sound of my own heartbeat. "Send them in," I said quietly. The door opened, and there they were. Different now. No longer the sharp, polished bankers in sleek suits and designer watches. They looked tired, hollow. Samuel had a beard that hadn't been properly groomed. Bobby's shirt was stained with sweat, and his eyes looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Joseph," Samuel began. His voice shook. "Please sit," I said, pointing to the seat across from me. My tone was calm, controlled. They sat. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The silence was thick with shame, with memory, with ghosts. Then Bobby cleared his throat. We're in trouble, Joseph." I nodded slowly. "I've heard. I read it in the newspaper some days ago, the fraud charges." Samuel leaned forward, his eyes pleading. "We were framed at first. But when the EFCC dug deeper, they found other transactions. Things from way back. We were careless. Too confident. Now they've frozen our accounts. We can't even access our properties. The judge has granted us bail, but the conditions. Joseph, we need someone to stand surety for us. Bobby added, you're the only one we could think of. You're successful now. You have the assets. Please. Just help us get out. I stared at them for a long time. Then I smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It wasn't even fake. It was the kind of smile that forms when a man tastes justice, slow and satisfying. You remember that day at your office? I asked softly. When I came to you, desperate. They said nothing. I was dying inside. I had no one. But I had memories of how I helped you both when your worlds collapsed. I gave without hesitation, without shame. And you laughed at me. Joseph, we were stupid, Samuel said. We were young, you were wicked, I cut in. Not stupid. You forgot what we had. You buried loyalty because of money. And now, you're reaping what you sowed. Bobby wiped his face. Please, Joseph. Don't do this. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the bustling Lagos skyline. You know what's funny? If you had just said you didn't have money, I'd have understood. But you mocked me. You made me feel small. I turned around. Now it's your turn. Don't ever call me again, I said coldly. I'm not your savior. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your friend. They stood, slowly. Broken. Ashamed. And I watched them walk out the way I walked out years ago, drenched not in rain, but in regret. I stood by the window for a long time after they left, their final footsteps echoing in my soul like a closing chapter. For years, I had imagined that moment, not out of bitterness, but out of a desire for balance. For justice. I wanted to look them in the eyes, not as the broken boy they once mocked, but as the man they couldn't control, the man they couldn't define. And now, that moment had come. But instead of satisfaction, I felt something else, a strange, aching silence. I should have felt triumphant. Powerful. Victorious. But what I felt was heavy. I poured myself a glass of water, sat behind my mahogany desk, and stared at my reflection in its polished surface. The office was quiet. Too quiet. No phones ringing. No assistants knocking. Just me. Alone. I closed my eyes. And for the first time in a long while, I wept. Not for them, but for us. For what we had lost. For what money, pride, and ego had destroyed. That day, I didn't go home immediately. I drove to the land I once sold in Ebejuleki. I hadn't been there in years. It had since been developed into a row of duplexes owned by some private estate firm. I stood at the gates, watching the lives moving inside, and I whispered, "Daddy, I hope you understand." A gentle breeze brushed against my face, as if my father's soul had passed through me in forgiveness. And for the first time, I felt peace. 3 days later, I woke up to news alerts, 2 ex-financial managers sentenced to 10 years for money laundering. Their names were everywhere. Their mugshots splashed across headlines, their once golden reputations reduced to ash. Calls came in from old classmates. Some were in disbelief. Others just wanted the juicy gist. But me. I didn't say a word. I didn't gloat. I didn't speak ill of them. I simply said, it's a shame. Life has a way of teaching us all.